And once again, I'd like to welcome everybody to another wonderful interview with the Buffalo History Channel. I'd like to thank you all for your continued support throughout the year of 2020. You know, on the Buffalo History Channel, we endeavor to bring you some of the rarest Buffalo history and Buffalo stories, particularly coming from the African-American community, but from all different communities too. We'll be getting into that as we move into the year 2021. This particular interview was one that I've been pretty excited about this for quite some time. This is a gentleman that I go back with, it was back in 1989 when I discovered public access. And many people will know in Buffalo, I have an extensive history with public access mainly throughout the 1990s and partly throughout the 2000s. And I am very honored to have the pioneering gentleman, who was the first person to run public access as well as introduce it to the city of Buffalo. He's getting himself ready there. And but his story does not just lie with public access. He has an extensive history with independent Buffalo Black media. And I'm telling you now, you all are going to be in for a treat with this one right here. I am glad to welcome to the Buffalo History Channel the founder of Sunship Communications, Mr. Clarence Smith. Clarence!
Yeah, thank you, Doug. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, man. Long time no see.
Long time no see. We're both a little older.
Yeah, you're right. We certainly are. Come a long way from when we were all young and ambitious, right?
Right, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, what I wanted to do,
yes,
give you a little history of Sunship Communications.
Yes, let's talk about the origins of Sunship Communications. How did it all begin?
Well, it began as an effort to bring artists and communication people together in a collective work to basically bring and design programs for the Buffalo community. Sunship Communications was incorporated in 1975, and it was incorporated as a 501c3. And we decided to incorporate a 501c3 so that we could receive grants and donations, because at the beginning of it, we figured, well, we needed a way to support the work. And being a nonprofit, we opened ourselves up to a lot of different funding sources. The purpose it was to encourage, promote, and aid in the development and the use of communications media as a tool for education, self-improvement, public information, community development, and the propagation of culture and art. And through those purposes, we began to develop a large number of projects. Early on, we started with the documentation media project, where we, using the video and audio and photography, we started to document African-American culture and cultural events. And with that project, a number of people came on board to help us in that effort. And some photographers, video people, and we would document these works and then present them to the public. At that time, we were doing small showings, like we would invite people up to our office and have like a showing of a tape or a program. In 1977, we received the grant from the Beautiful Fund for a historical media project called I To Sing America. And it was a theatrical program that was directed by one of our Sunship members, Doris Mims. And what she did, she hired a number of artists, performing artists, to produce a play about the history of Black Americans, and it traveled throughout the city. And she would present the play in senior citizen centers, community parks, also during one of our Juneteenth celebrations. At that same time, we got a large grant from the Cedar Project, which was a manpower project, and we were able to, under the direction of Gerald Belden, develop a program called Films in the Park. And we would go out to some of the public parks in Buffalo, and even housing projects, and set up a large screen at night and offer showing positive Black movies for free. And that was one of the first times that had ever been done in Buffalo. It was called Films in the Parks.
Okay.
1978.
Let me ask you a question, Clarence. Just out of curiosity, where exactly, now Sunship is a very unique name. Where did the name Sunship come from? What was the origin of that?
Good question, Doug. That came out of a discussion with the incorporators, my brother George Smith and Adib Moomin. The three of us, we incorporated Sunship, and it came out of, it's actually John Coltrane song, and it fitted in the sun, people of the sun, basically African Americans, and a ship, a vehicle, and the vehicle was communications. So that was kind of like a little catchy thing, Sunship Communications, but it actually is a John Coltrane song.
Okay. Now, I've always known you to be Sunship to be located at 1420 Main Street, but it didn't have its origins there. It started at the Langston Hughes Center for the Visual Performing Arts.
Yes. The incorporators, we were all instructors at the Langston Hughes Center, and that's where we all met, and basically came up with the concept that there needed to be an organization that dealt with communication, the communication media, and so we decided to come together. But we actually were instructors at the Langston Hughes Center.
Okay, all right. So talk about some of the. We know that you did productions with. I'm gonna try to tell you. I'm gonna have you take us down memory lane a little bit. You did talk about some of the work that y'all did for the Juneteenth Festival, which was at that time on Jefferson Avenue. Yes, well, one of our members, Turner Malik Robinson, who recently passed away, right. He was very spearheaded, along with the Bill organization, the Juneteenth movement in Buffalo. Juneteenth had been celebrated. Yeah, right. Juneteenth had been celebrated in different parts of the country, primarily in Texas. And Turner Malik Robinson thought it would be great to bring that concept to Buffalo. So we worked with him and supported him in his effort to help be a part of and nurture the Juneteenth Festival, which still goes on today. I think the first one was I think it was 1976. Okay, the first one. And it was on Jefferson Avenue. Yep. And at that time, we had a stand on Jefferson right near the old Scotty's Steakhouse. Oh, wow. And we videotaped and did some interviews with people. Did you come across any footage of that? Yes, I do have some footage, and I'll get that to you. Yes, please. We did shoot a little black and white. Back those days, we only had the black and white cameras. Okay. And we did shoot some video of the festival, and it was a highlight for the Black community on Jefferson Avenue. Wow. So not only does Buffalo celebrate Juneteenth, but it also, for many, many years, has celebrated Kwanzaa. So talk to us, and this was around the time that Kwanzaa began in Buffalo, and I know you all were involved with that. So talk to us about Sunship's involvement with implementing Kwanzaa in Buffalo.
Well, most of the Sunship members were familiar with Dr. Ron Karinga and the Nguvu Saba, the 7 principles. And we sort of incorporated some of those principles in our work: unity, collective work, and responsibility, collective economics, Imani. We sort of incorporated those principles in our work, and so it was a natural tie-in to Kwanzaa. And so, that was the very beginning of the Kwanzaa movement in the United States. And so we actually, to help people understand it, we developed a coloring book, which I have a copy here, for children, and what Kwanzaa means. And it was illustrated by one of our local Buffalo artists, Michael Gay. But it talked about basically what the principles meant, and what the principles meant, and how you could participate in the Kwanzaa celebration. What I grew out of that was a collective work with a number of Black organizations in Buffalo to have a Kwanzaa week, not just one day. So every week we would celebrate Kwanzaa in a different community center or place. And one of our main roles was to help publicize it using our communication skills, and also being able to record it, to record the Kwanzaas on videotaping. And one of our main people, Robert Kamal Fields, was very involved in the community, in this Kwanzaa movement, and keeping that Kwanzaa spirit alive, even till this day. From what I understand, Dr. Karinga comes to Buffalo every year.
Yes, he does.
Every year he comes to Buffalo for Kwanzaa.
Okay. So one of the crowning achievements of Sunship Communications was the establishment of the Oscar Micheaux Theatre, something that I remembered as a child going to the cartoon shows on Saturday mornings. Talk to us about the founding of just the scope of what the Oscar Micheaux Theatre was all about.
Well, part of our effort, early on effort, was to bring up filmmakers. At that time, this is pre-Spike Lee, but at that time there was very little knowledge about Black films and filmmakers. So we started a program, and we got a grant to bring up Black filmmakers to Buffalo and let them show their films and talk about their work. And one of the most prominent was Ossie Davis. We were able to bring Ossie Davis to come up, and Gil Noble, Gordon Watkins, William Greaves, some of the great Black filmmakers come up to Buffalo and show their films. We would only use like small venues, but Ron Woodford and Turner Robinson and Kamal felt that we should take it to a higher level. So we started to look for a theater, a venue. And at that time in Buffalo, the Black community was moving into a part of Buffalo, the Bailey Fillmore area. I guess we call it, I forget the name of that, Bailey area, Bailey Avenue.
Yep.
And
Bailey and Kensington.
Yeah, yes, right. And it happened to be a vacant theater that was there in Bailey Avenue. And we approached the owner of the theater and told him that we would like to turn it into a community theater, which would provide not only Black films or films for everybody, and performances and children's program on Saturday, particularly for children. And so the owner said, okay, well, you can rent it from us, and we leased it for them. And we hired a very important person, Paula Craig. She became our general manager and gave gave the theater a business feel, because we most of us are communications people, and we lacked the business experience. But for them, obviously, to run a theater, it was a 650 seat theater. So in order to run a theater like that, you had to have some business knowledge. So Paula came in and jumped right on it, and really, I mean, with her help and the friends of the Oscar Micheaux, which was a collective of people, they developed all types of programs. And one of the highlights was that we premiered a film by the Ethiopian filmmaker Haile Gerima. The first time he had ever shown his film Ashes and Amber.
Right.
And one of the highlights of our children's program was we brought in Maria from Sesame Street. She came in from New York and did a program for the school kids, and we had a theater full of 650 children for Maria. So those are some of the highlights. But we had talent shows. We brought in the Blue Magic, at that time a musical group. We had poetry readings, and under the direction of Paula Craig and Sandra White, local television person. She did our PR and commercials. So she helped publicize helped us, and also helped us with some of the presentations there. But it was a very collective effort. It lasted about 3 years. We ended up losing the theater because economically we couldn't keep it going. And then tragically, the building caught on fire.
Right.
Yeah, and we lost that. But it was a very beautiful. And obviously, the name Oscar Micheaux was a famous black filmmaker back in the 40s.
Just out of curiosity, where did y'all get those cartoon shows from?
The cartoons?
Yeah.
Well, we had a contact, Brother Bill Miles at the Buffalo Public Library.
Oh, of course, the Ram Van.
And also we rented some from other venues, but we would show cartoons on Saturdays. We also got a grant from the New York State Council on the Arts to present some of the black films, and there's a list of films by black filmmakers that we showed.
Okay. Now, before we get into the public access, around this time, I can remember that cable TV itself, in general, was something that was being introduced to the city, which was a kind of a new concept of expanding TV channels. Talk to us about the introduction of cable TV and how Sunship came into that.
Yeah. Well, we were aware of the developments of cable TV and public access in different parts of the country. And when the cable company, I think it was telecommunications, came into Buffalo to ask for the franchise, which means that they would be the only cable company in Buffalo. No one else could come in. Part of the agreement that was set up by Congress was that the cable company would have to provide what we call public access, which means that it would have to have channels set aside for educational use, cultural use, government use, and also for the public. Right. So we did some research. We actually traveled to different cities like Boston and Chicago and studied what they were doing. And we brought it back to the leadership, the Common Council, and the mayor of Buffalo, and said that before you give this company exclusivity to the development of cable in Buffalo, they have to provide public access, and they have to support it financially. So we put together a proposal, and it was accepted by the council, and we received a contract to operate the public access channels in Buffalo. And we started to develop programming, and we started to outreach training, to bring all different parts of the community together. South Buffalo, the East Side, West Side, North Buffalo. Try to bring in all different types of groups to come in and let them know that we could train them and they could make their own TV programs.
Wow.
And have their vehicle, have a voice, And so that was one of our largest projects. And through that, we were able to acquire the old Channel 7 WKBW building. We actually met with Capital Cities Communications with help from the Black Media Coalition under John Smith.
Right.
We actually flew to New York, met with them, told them what we would like to do, and they said, "Well, look, we'll give you the building for $1." And it was, we were so happy, and so we began to try to develop that as a site for productions. Unfortunately, before we could do a lot of productions, our contract ran out. Our particular contract ran out in terms of the operator of Buffalo Public Access. But Access is still alive in Buffalo and still going strong. And Sunship still participates on the channels.
Right. Now I just want to get a little bit more deeper into the whole public access thing. Talk to us. I mean, there was competition for you to win that contract to be the operator of public access. Talk to us about what the process was in terms of getting the contract and becoming the operator of public access.
Mm-hmm. Well, basically, it was some competition because some of the other groups in Buffalo had learned about public access, and they also saw what was going on in different parts of the country. So we did our research, though. We like I said, we traveled to festivals and saw what other cities were doing. We communicated with the national cable public access organizations and got their assistance. And we submitted the contract to the Common Council. At that time, George K. Arthur was the president of the Common Council. And we explained to him how important this would be for the Buffalo community. And he gave us 100% support, along with a large number of the councilmen at that time. And it came to a vote between, I think, us and one other group. And we were awarded by the council. And eventually the mayor agreed to sign on and give us a chance to operate. And we were told by Councilman Jim Pitts, when we got the contract, he said, "Now you got to start running every day," because it was a new thing. It was very new, and we had to educate the public quickly. So we tried to do our best as fast as we could to get it established. And like I said, today, even till today, it's still there.
And what were some of your memories of, dealing with producers and being in the community? I can remember being with you with the big white truck, remote truck, going to the different football games and the community events and the many producers and the classes. Give us some memories of that.
Yes. Several people, Darius Esteban, again, Robert Kamal Fields, Ron Woodford, they all had experience in production. Adib Moomin. So they led the workshops to teach people how to use the equipment. And the workshops, we would invite people in and have to train them in how to use it. And then part of the training was that they had to produce a program that could air. And we, along with that, we produced from our own production team. We would go out. We had a production truck which was given to us by the cable company, and we would go out, like you said, and cover football games, parades, any kind of music, like gospel group. Matter of fact, one of our highlights was there was a large gospel concert. I think it was at the M&T or Marine Millen Bank out on the plaza.
Right.
And we did that. We covered the whole gospel concert live, and then tape and then put it later on public access. So we were just looking for the Polish community, parade, anything that people could be interested. We also developed a program, some of the cable, the mayor's press conference, the Common Council hearings on certain matters. We also, Assemblyman Eve, we would do like a monthly or weekly program with him, letting the community know what was going on in the legislature in terms of bills that were being approached by the state. So we just tried to culturally. There was also religious programs. We had a producer that had a Jewish program. We did a gospel night with one of the local gospel radio personalities. We had all different groups come in, as many as we could, but we just to try to encourage people to come on in and learn how to use the equipment and make your program, or whatever it was, whatever the subject was.
Okay. Now we know that the Sunship had to create an organization called BPAC, Buffalo Public Access Center, and
Yeah.
which was the actual operator of public access. What was the story behind why everything ended? Because I can remember when I got involved on the tail end of everything. And when I went away to college after the summer of '89, and then when I came back towards the end of the year, public access was no more. So could you tell us the actual story behind why everything ended?
Well, it was very simple. Because we were a nonprofit group, we depended largely on financial support from sources. And when we lost the contract with the city in terms of the public access contract, we weren't able to financially keep it going ourselves. So, and we couldn't find a funding source at that time to continue to work. So we made a decision to let it go on and move into with the new group. We didn't want to hinder the development of the new group that had won the contract. So we sort of decided to end our part of the activity and let the new group develop that had the access. Because financially we just couldn't get going. But we did continue some other programs. We had a program on one of the first satellite radio and sources. It was called the African News Report by Keith Walker, and it was an international program that gave an update at that time of news on the African continent. And if you remember, in that time, there were still a lot of the African countries under colonial rule and still fighting for liberation. So it was a very important. The African News Report was a very important vehicle. People could call in to a telephone number, and they would receive update of what was going on in the African continent. We also started at that time to bring in fundraising activities. Gil Scott-Heron, the entertainer, came up. Was able to bring him to Buffalo several times to help us raise funds, and he put on several concerts for us to help us raise funds. Michael Hill, who was very instrumental, came from the Langston Hughes Center, eventually became the director of for a period of Sunship, and he led us through a period of development. Because of his knowledge of working with the Langston Hughes Center, he helped reach out to some more funding sources. But like I said, going back, because we were a nonprofit, we had a very tight budget. We just didn't have enough to continue.
Was there something that involved a lawyer? I remember hearing that story a while back.
You mean in terms of, it's a nice story about our lawyer. we were able to get when we acquired the Channel 7 building, the old WKBW building, from Capital Cities Communications. Our lawyer, he was a volunteer lawyer. He volunteered and drew up all the contracts and everything. And it was kind of a funny story. They said, "Well, look, we'll give it to you for $1." It's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
And we didn't have $1. So the lawyer, and I wish I could remember his name, he reached in his pocket and gave the communications people $1, and that was how we got the building. And I thank him to this day, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name. Okay. But that was one lawyer, and then we also had several lawyers volunteer to help us through some difficult times because we had acquired quite a bit of debt. So I
heard there was some overtaxing or something.
I'm sorry, say it again, Ryan.
I heard that there was some overtaxing or something, which kind of led up in terms of when everything started to end. That was just some of the gossip that went on. Yeah, I think. Well, we had we were having financial problems. We had, it was the Buffalo Public Access was a major project, right. But we still, we still continue to try to develop certain projects, but we actually had to kind of like I say, move away from it and let the new group we didn't want to hinder because the concept of public access didn't belong to Sunship. The concept of public access is for the public. So even though we were given the vehicle to get it started and to bring it the awareness to people, it didn't belong to us. So when we lost the contract, we said, let's move out of the way and let them develop it, and it still goes on today. Okay. We did have, obviously as any group, we did have our legal and financial tribulations, but we always tried to stay positive, and continue to work some kind of way. As a matter of fact, there is still a Sunship program on public access. Yeah, Sunship Presents, which Kamal still does to this day.
Yeah, Kamal, Robert Fields still does it. Let's see.
When I looked through some of the
advisors, like Larry Frazier, one of the local producers, was very important. He taught us a lot about production. Jim Pappas, the former chairman of the Black Studies program at the University of Buffalo, helped us quite a bit with contacting filmmakers and giving us advice. Brother Simba Imlay, who passed away recently, made a lot of contacts with us throughout the community. So a lot of people, like I said, it's a collective work. I mean, it was so many people that helped us along the way, and I hate to leave any names out, but it was a very collective effort, and people came in a positive spirit. We only had like very minimum salaries at a time, so a lot of people were volunteering their time and effort. I just want to quickly, Ron, just let you go, but I wanted to quickly talk about some of the other projects.
Yes,
we did.
Absolutely.
We had an annual communications conference that Brother Dariar DeHaan and John Smith from the Black Media Coalition worked on. We developed a catalog of Black films at that time that we, over 200 films, we put together a little catalog because at that time, there wasn't really a one source of where you could find films, Black films. So we actually have put together a catalog, and it was distributed all over the country. The careers in communications, I actually took every year for a few years, we took a group of students to Howard University to their communications conference so that they could participate. And there was no charge. We rented a vehicle and provided hotel space for them, and they could come in and see what was going on in the communications conference. So those are some of the projects. I know I'm leaving something out.
Well, I went through some of the materials you sent me, and I looked at a lot of you had a lot of classes going on throughout the early '80s, even prior to public access beginning.
Right. Yeah, one of our,
and you had some nice vehicles. You had some pictures of some nice vehicles that you had too.
Yeah, we did have a couple of vehicles that we used with the Buffalo Public Access and also with the Films in the Park. So though we had a couple of vehicles, the production truck and a couple of vans. But like I said, again, it was just so many people came together and helped us develop Sunship. And it was personally for myself, it was a beautiful time, and I was just blessed that to be around with people. And most of us stay in contact. You know, the ones that are still alive, we try to stay in contact. Recently, and I think it was in 1985, a number of us were able to go to South Africa. Wow. I think it was 95. We were able to travel to South Africa, and just after the apartheid had ended. So we as a group, we try to keep together.
Okay. So when did you leave Buffalo?
Oh, good question. I left Buffalo in the 90s, and I left to work primarily with a friend of mine, Harold Burke at Howard University. Harold was the head of the communications department at the School of Business. So I went to work with him at Howard. And matter of fact, I just recently, I'm still at Howard to be honest. I just recently cut back some, but I continue to work at Howard University. But I left Buffalo in the early 90s, okay. 1990s.
And what are you involved in now?
Well, right now I have a production company here in Washington called Vortex Communications, and it provides communications equipment. We do some streaming. We do setups for nonprofit organizations and individuals here in the Washington area. And a large part of our work is at Howard University. And one of the exciting things we just started to do, as a matter of fact, Harold Burke is a part of the Vortex group. Because of the COVID situation, we've been able to do streaming at the Howard Hospital to help the doctors communicate about the needs of the COVID updates. So we've been able to stream in doctors from all over the country and world, and the doctors at Howard and the students that are training to be doctors, the doctors can critique their work and give them updates. So that's one of our most exciting projects right now. Howard University at this time is closed down because of the COVID, right. But the hospital is open.
Yeah, I've only been out here in the DMV. I moved here back in November of 2018. It'll be 2 years on the 26th of this month, as a matter of fact. And I was looking this year to get out here and start doing some networking, and then this whole COVID thing hit. So definitely gonna have to. We're neighbors now, so we're definitely gonna have to find some time to link up with each other.
Oh yeah, sure. And one other person I wanted to mention.
Yes.
Because actually, to be honest, he was one of the first projects we attempted to go to the Festac. I don't know if you remember Festac, the Festac, the big African festival, back in 1977. Okay. And Tafara Hicks.
Tafara, yes.
Tafara Hicks, one of the great photographers of Buffalo.
Images of us.
Yeah, he pulled us together and said, "Hey, look, we need to make this festival and document it." And that was one of the reasons that Ozzie Davis came to help us raise funds so we could go to the festival. And we were able to many years later, Tafara, we were able to travel to South Africa together in '95 and continue to work.
By the way, I saw you sent me something on the Kuumba House. What was the Kuumba House?
Oh, the Kuumba House was a concept by Robert Mouzon, another one of our members.
Yes, Bob Mouzon.
Yeah, Robert Mouzon. He was a local DJ.
Yep.
On the radio, one of the black radio stations in Buffalo, and he had acquired a beautiful house on Humble Parkway. It was right on the corner of Humble, and I don't think it's there anymore, but on Humble and East Ferry. And he acquired this beautiful house, which we ended up turning into a small cultural center, and also provided living space for some of the artists. Because as you well know, that it sometimes is very difficult for the artists to support themselves. Right. So the Kuumba House became a place where artists could come and they could stay. There was living facilities, a kitchen. There was also a meeting space, and on the second floor was a library. But that was all given to us by the late Robert Mouzon. Robert passed away recently.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much gonna do it for me here. Clarence, it was certainly an honor to have you be a part of the Buffalo History Channel. I mean, Sunship Communications, I've said many times, along with, I interviewed Jimmy Lyons, who recently passed away a few months ago. Yes. And I told him that that Buffalo Beat and Sunship Communications is something is upon the shoulders that I stand with Urban Legacy Filmworks, and before that, Jet Set Entertainment, when I was starting out with public access back in 1989. It was Jimmy Lyons that actually introduced you and I. I was on a shoot with him doing something for Buffalo Beat. We came up
I remember.
We came up to 1420 Main Street, and I had just found out about getting shows on public access, because I was 17 years old. I didn't know that I could even that the opportunity was available for me to do that. So then I linked up with you, and then you had me come down and take those, I think it was like 6 to 8 weeks of classes. And I still have I took my test, I passed. I got my, I still have my certificate, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Keep it too.
I still have I just got to put it up. It's in one of my boxes, but I got to put it up on the wall. But I still have my certificate as a certified producer.
Yeah, but in closing, I just want to say that, again, Sunship was a collective work of so many beautiful people with beautiful spirit. Absolutely. And time moves on, but I relish those days and the people that I had a chance to work with, and the people that were influenced, like you yourself, the students and people that came in, and now you have launched your own career, your own channel, which I'm very proud of you. I had a chance to look at the Buffalo History Channel, and I was just amazed. Doug, I forgot so much. I forgot so much that had happened in Buffalo. I was like, did that happen? Oh yeah, I remember that.
Well, of course that's why we gotta put Sunship in there.
Yeah. But thank you so much for this opportunity. And like I said, my time spent in Buffalo, I relish. And I just hope that we try to do the best we could, and I hope that we're a positive part of Buffalo history.
You are. You absolutely were. Much respect to you and Sunship Communications.
Thank you.
Well, it was good to have you on the channel. Thanks for being with us.
All right, thank you.